So I've got a question for you, Justin, now that we're back. I'm curious about what goes into the planning stages for building a new amp. Is it you?
Can I before
Yeah.
for a second? So regarding the tube thing, I'm I am just fucking I'm somewhat disingenuous. Look, guys, I am on one hand, I use Sylvania tubes, right?
Yeah.
Fion tubes that I covet and hide and don't share.
Yeah.
There's two things. So, like, I think everybody here probably at some levels it has sort of the same difficulty with tubes. I
Mhm.
see the value in vintage tubes, both new and
Yeah.
old. Do have maybe 1,000 tubes that aren't shared with people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I know you guys are like SWX dealers, and so I know you know at some level you guys are probably tube aficionados at a very high level too. So hopefully you guys can understand this duality. Like
Yes.
you know, like
And especially as I've been rolling my own SW1X and the Black Pearl is it it's an interesting kind of process that where does that line lie?
on one hand, I tell people like don't overdo it. It's all good, and there's a truth to that. Like I don't, but you know, these tubes are Bendix and Raytheons
Yeah.
at least, right? And then
Mhm.
that's like GEs and if it's not black plate, I don't really want to deal with it.
Yeah.
Not everybody can participate that way, and I get that, and I don't want to. I want to be
Exactly.
inclusive and big tent for people, so that's why like my
Yeah.
answers tend to be um, because it's going to get to a place where they're like. I mean, here's an example. I have three 20 amp circuits going into one music room, and I have three dedicated power conditioners going into that room.
Yeah.
Expect everybody to do that.
No.
No one needs to be as neurotic as me.
No. But there are, there are some that do like to and once again it's kind of fine tuning the system and to what level do you want to fine tune it to, you know. And I think
Right. I
tube
just
rolling is part of that.
no, but I just don't openly roll share
Yeah.
how neuroses go because I don't want to encourage people to be as twisted as I.
Yeah.
Because no one has. You can find happiness at much shallower depths.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Well,
does
and
that
I
make
think
sense?
some of those people looking for it are the ones already venturing into those deeper depths. The the ones who are already interested. I think there's a point for the more general consumer that is fine with the tube sound in quotes, you know. They're getting what a general tube offers and then not necessarily interested in fine tuning the sound they want in particular. If that makes sense.
To kind of the same to be said for like cables. Like I knew like one of my customers, he bought himself like a Lampenzader TRP,
Oh
and
yeah.
and I knew he was my people's when he already owned one of my amps. He bought a Nautilus, and I knew he was one of my people's. So when he was like, "Yeah, I have a lot of cables." Like, what you mean, John? And he's like, "Yeah, well, like you suggested trying the XLR, so I bought like the Shinyata." Da, 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 da. Oh, you go dark place real quick, didn't you?
Yeah.
On the whim, $3,000 cable fairy magically appeared. such that he could scratch an itch to figure, and then he couldn't figure it out because he needed to find an apples to apples, and this went down,
Yeah,
thus,
I
thus
remember.
10 days went later, he found a solution after like 12 cables later, 10 days, and the cable company
Yeah.
visited him.
Yeah, personal. That's when they visit you personally,
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I remember having, a literal truckload of interconnects filtering around my living room, and Ida and I were playing with each and every one of them and trying out different ways and what made the system sound the best. So it's definitely a neurotices, and it's definitely fun for
Well,
those who think it's fun.
I don't think this shit is fun personally. Like, I tore my whole, like, someone someone head fucked me at Florida. We don't even need to get into like how I got head fucked because that's not the discussion point, right? That's a whole different. That's a whole different.
Yeah.
Right. I come home, cracks get torn down, all cable pulled out, things get simpler, cords get rearranged, power cord matchy power cords go in, one power conditioner comes out, power distribution box goes in. And ordering cables. Now, I didn't order expensive RC interconnect cables, but my thing was they had to be all brand specific, and they all had to be exactly the shortest fucking length, so that they that what I went with was like I have a 1.5, a 2, a 3, a 4. I have a 4 on one side, a 6 on the other, because one side only, like very specific, only go. I have a thing, like I really hate longer than it needs to be, because I'm a big believer that cable should be as tailored to your system as it can be, and when your system changes, so should your cable.
You hear that, Peter? Yeah.
And so I have this beautifully dressed rack right now waiting for some equipment to come out of Pelican cases, right? But like the cable is all like, it is in a pretty fucking place. Everything is in its place, and everything, like, you know what I mean? Like it is waiting for installation of its hearts. Hearts and lungs are waiting for all vascular,
the critical organs.
all arteries and veins have been run to the right places. It is just waiting for the organs to be dropped into the right places and start beating again.
Waiting for the transplant recipient.
But yeah, like, it's like, we all have our little, it wasn't about branding this phone because I knew exactly what I wanted and whatnot, but it was specifically about termination and cable length was what I was like very particular about in this, but now I have, fuck, I'm in the garage to deal with.
Yeah.
It's like we all have an idea, and it's about for me, it's about the execution of the idea. How complete is that execution?
Yeah. And I think, I think that's what we're trying to provide, and I think that's one thing that you try and provide as well. Because there's something to be said about hearing the system in its entirety, and the way you're selecting these parts and the way you're going about providing the vasculature, Jeremy, do you want to ask your question?
So I have a question, and then Michael, one of the viewers, has a question. I feel like Michael's question is going to be a hot button. I'll start with mine first. So my question is, how does the design process look for an amp? Do you see a new tube that you haven't that you just heard recently and you want to build an amp around it? Do you hear a song and you're like, you know what, this inspires me? Is it technologies that you discover, or you just get the itch to try something new? How does that look?
So, like, I got head fucked this weekend, so that I just blew 16 grand on starting shit this week. Like, money just started leaving me this weekend for prototyping. We can talk about that in a second, but normally it's a niche. something interested me, and I wanted to. So, like a lasting, less significant twist was like I've been building the Kenzie amp for 12 years, right? And I've never really made it as an integrated. But if you go to the site, look up like specialty amplifiers, there's now like a Kenzie integrated. And
Mhm.
I got rid of it. Only has one headphone jack, but it's got a set of binding posts now. And it is like my perfect office system because I did collaboration where I've known Turnbull for a while, of the OHAS Art House speakers. Them in
Yeah.
my office, in my Anaheim office. I'm just like, I'm in this, Pearl complex, and I have a 1970s credenza, old ass piddly, civil servant credenza in my office. I got a set of these beautiful art house speakers, and, I'm gonna have this Kenzie because I didn't want to have something really big and ostentatious. I wanted something accessible but toneful, right? Toneful.
Yeah.
And I was like, plus a Bluetooth streamer. It's not like, yeah, you can put a better source in front of it, right? But like this with binding posts, and you're just done. Like this is everything it needs to be without feeling heavy, like without putting pretense in front of it. Because on one hand, I'm building bigger and bigger guns, more sophistication, and things with
Yeah.
more resolution. But there's a part of me that also wants to still be accessible, and at times whimsical. And like the Kenzie was like this idea of like thing that you want to give to your kid when they go to a dorm room. They can't be an asshole with it, but they can act a level of taste. You're going to give your
Yeah.
kid, you're not going to give your kid a Rolex to go to state school for college, right? I'm not going to.
Mhm. Yeah.
But would I give them a Hamilton khaki chrono?
Yeah.
Do I think that that's like my idea of a watch with high taste level?
Uh-huh.
Demonstration of my middle class lifestyle for sure. Okay, but it also is a
Yeah.
demonstration of, in my mind, good taste too, because it's a durable, non-fancy, overachieving design.
Yeah. And I like how it's, you know, a Swiss Army knife of at least being able to build a complete system for someone.
Right, and so like you take this like little accessible thing, and you could put, you know, the Blumenstein speakers with it, or you could put a set of Grados with it, and you have. So like I did a little bit of retooling with it and worked the circuit for a little bit of time, and I decided to do. And so I spent a few weeks noodling on this idea and working it through to make it
Yeah.
work. How what
Yeah, I think it turned out great.
happened in Florida though, as an example though, which was 100% true, was I got told at some level, your room sounded exceptional.
Mhm.
Amplifier, which I built, we sell. This for quality amplification totality of the system that you built, which
Yeah.
is, I get that. There's a truth to that. And
Mhm.
the other part of that is like we very established in the personal audio market, and are secure in our being there as far as like who we
Yeah.
are, and perhaps the market's understanding of who we are, and are building into that same that into our into the 2-channel world. And so I had to go, shit, we need to build a 2-channel pre. Now that's something I'm intending to do for like 2 years. But
Yeah.
I told, you know, not last year, but at Rocky Mountain, I got told, "We love your designs, but you need a bigger gun." I've had a bigger.
Yeah.
I've had a bigger gun. I've been selling
Yeah.
to people quietly for the Citation 2 is done our way, but like
Uh-huh.
not. I have, but always with sort of custom casework, and so I had to try to convert a mass produced casework, and so all of my bandwidth went to taking design and
Yeah.
the Citation 2
Hmm.
more consumer friendly casework,
Yeah.
and so the decision wasn't like, "Hey, Justin, I because there are other things," but I got told where the market deemed I had deficits that I needed to fill, and so I've been working to sort of fill those deficits, which was the first is I
Yeah.
need a at least 60-watt power amp, which the Casablancas are a 60-watt power amp for sure. It's even 80 watts when you put KT120s in them. But
Hmm.
the Citation 2 will is like a Ford Power Stroke.
Yeah.
It'll pull anything out the fucking water and will disconnect it while it
Exactly.
does it.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I don't know who's coming to Expona, but like I've genetically modified a Godzilla and then bred it with a dragon, and if it doesn't if it doesn't glow orange at night,
Yeah.
I did something
You'll be
wrong.
surprised. Yeah.
I mean, I'd
Uh,
like to call it a Targaryen, but I don't want to be sued.
yeah. Well,
But I mean,
we're in a safe place right now.
legitimately, I'd like to call it a Targaryen. It,
Yeah.
it is a breeder of dragons. These things,
Uh-huh.
these are dragon eggs that will be glowing. I've said to my
Yes.
staff in no uncertain terms that normally we are very conservative with our tubes. We value their life. We do not wish to
Yeah.
see them die premature deaths. I truly believe in the
No.
value that all tubes' lives are important and should be respected. I take a
Yes.
contrary view with the Targaryen, which is to say that they are virgins to the fucking flame and are meant to be
To be
sacrificed
sacrificed. Yeah.
to the gods of
Yeah.
music, which is what
Yes.
Hegman wanted. Stu Hegman ran KT88s at 100 mils.
Oh
There is
man.
not KT150s don't like 100 mils.
Yeah.
Like that man made 150s. He burned up Tungsol 6550s and Muller 60 and Muller KT88s like they were chewing gum. Like he just like
He turned
Marlboro
them into
Reds.
double A
He just
batteries.
glued the made them glow and they were gone.
Yeah.
So
Just a song or two.
we're gonna be doing that. Like those things, like
Yes.
we have like two bias settings for it, hot and
Yeah.
nuclear.
Yeah. Oh man.
So
You're
I
gonna
would
walk
like
in with a duffel bag full of
no
spare tubes.
each one each one I think is going to be about 100 pounds per channel.
Yeah.
No, they're anyway. So I would have normally said that it's my whimsy and fancy that makes me design things, but I have increasingly, I'm listening with my third ear to what the market tells me it wants to see produced. Um,
Yeah.
the question of execution, though, I could give a shit what they think. I will produce it in the manner I see
Exactly.
I will produce it in the
Yeah.
manner um, that is the most earnest to how we do things.
Yeah.
You know,
And I think you really couldn't ask for much else.
no, I mean, like like the amps that come on top plates are very, very nice, and we really still showed the same level of care in our wiring. But if you buy something that is on a steel chassis, you are buying something that has a level of execution that is much harder to find a comparable to in the US.
Yeah.
Someone had a question, right? There was a hot button question.
Yes.
Michael's question, I think, is the question that's on everybody's mind, at least in terms of this Discord being a very headphone-oriented Discord. Have you ever considered building an eStat? With a kind of resurgence in the headphone field of eStats, Michael is interested in knowing if it's worth a thought.
The most vulgar answer for that I can't use. I have such an incredibly vulgar answer for that. I'm not allowed to give a really vulgar, humorous answer, right, guys? Like, I can't show you how to based and just absolutely
Nope. Go ahead.
It's,
There's
Release
no
it upon
children
us.
here.
wait, what'd you
I
say?
don't think I'll like it, but you can release it.
No, it's nothing towards anybody else. No, it's not that. It was like, I mean, like, let me say this differently. Look, I'm a small shit company. Like we do a great business and we stay busy enough to make us very happy. I don't think there's enough market demand for me to participate. Poor reason. No, I have a circuit that is drawn up that I could use of instantaneously and build against easily. I don't know that I would need anything other than my level of execution or casework to the discussion point, you know?
Yeah.
I think that the amps are like I haven't heard the headphone, right? But I'm told
Mm-hmm.
I thought Len's first headphone was being exceptional, but now then, like when everybody wants to tell me that his old headphone, his original idea, was thin.
Mm-hmm.
I find eStats in general thinner than I would like because I like it
Yeah.
dense. Because I like it dense in general. Because I'm
Yeah.
either like planners or or I like planners. And I like the lot of headphones. But anyway, that being said,
Yeah.
always found eStats to have reliability issues as a headphone
Mm-hmm.
player. And to me, to have an unreliable driver, or to have a driver that is generally singular supplier, not Dan. Dan is Dan is a really well-known provider, like known partner. I don't think he's the issue. But like the Stack's gone bankrupt and reconstituted themselves.
Yeah. Well, and I think they've become popular recently just because of the X9K release, which is, for most intensive purposes, people have said, and I've heard it and thought the same, is that it's definitely not the same thin sounding as they were. But I do think they still have that connotation over something like a ZMF or a dynamic driver or even some planars.
Right, and I mean, so looking at the demography of the market, like here's things I would
Mm-hmm.
suggest, right? Like
Yeah.
Jack Wu is fucking amazing and super smart, and his newest fixable, the Firefly,
Yeah.
really solid product at a really great price.
Yeah.
Jack is a participant in the community with a real understanding of electrostats. At the other end of
That's interesting. Yeah.
at the extreme, though, Doc Bottlehead had a kit. If you ask Doc Bottlehead nicely, he'll build the kit for you.
Oh. He's
Now,
an ESTAT kid?
yes, he does.
Interesting.
Y'all don't stock people's websites enough.
No.
Bottlehead products.
While you look that up, we're rolling up onto an hour and a half.
Yep.
So we'll be wrapping shortly here. If there's
So,
any last things you want to touch on.
well, so the one thing I was going to say, like fundamentally, though, is like I think that if you look at though where headphones are in the marketplace, I think that there's less and less need for e-stats. I don't like things that
Yeah.
require energizers as much as I think like, and when I think about like how good headphones are, whether you're an orthodynamic guy or a planner person, there's so very good examples of everything in the market right now that like, why would you? And I'm not trying to be mean. Like I don't mean it meanly. I'm just sort of discussing out loud that question, right?
Yeah.
Like the LCDX, such a good example. The LCD5, such a good example. The Expanse, such a good example. The the new stuff from Zach,
Yeah.
such a good example. The 800S, the Utopia, like these
Yes.
they're the Grados, like depending on which like all such interesting good examples.
Yeah.
Are you really left believing that the um, that the eStat is really a better, more unique solution?
Yeah.
I was an eStat denier for a long time until I heard X9000. And that's what kind of made me get onto the eStat hype. I still don't have any, but that was the first thing that started to kind of change my mind about eStats.
And come back to it.
I knew it was going to be a hot button the second I saw it.
No, I mean, like, the other thing though is it's like, are there 20 people that would sign up to purchasing, right? Lots of people want things.
Yeah.
How many people? So if you look under new
Agreed.
products, stat electrostatic headphone amplifier energizer, $1,500.
Wow. I see it.
DIY kit?
Uh-huh.
Boy.
Now, there's some solid state components in there that I would do without personally, but those actually can be, I've looked at the circuit, those can be pruned out.
Oh, nice.
Interesting.
So, I mean, if one asked me, hey, Justin, can I send this to you? No, I'm not going to do this, but like a different argument structure might be, or different, more interesting questions. Hey, Justin, here's this kit. What would you do to this kit to make it slightly more true tubey, and not include any yuckiness? Because the yuckiness I mean, they have a lot of diodes in there, and they have some they do some voltage hooey that doesn't quite make sense. I think it's just because they didn't spec like a custom transformer, and for not very much money, one could just spec a custom transformer from a custom winding house like Hoiber, and then you could simplify the power supply and not need 20 diodes.
Yeah.
Make the build simpler.
Mhm.
So the last thing I wanted to touch on before we close, we'll give it another 8 minutes. We'll give it till the 1.5 hour mark on the dot.
By the way, I'm sorry. I just wanted to give you a full
Axpona.
answer on that. By the way.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate it. That's what this is here for. It's
Yeah.
meant to be long format.
No, we
Yeah.
enjoy all this.
But Axpona, we're seeing you there, yes?
I mean, so what to expect is the question, sort of?
Yeah, basically.
Coming with just as much good shit as we can. I mean, trying to bend heaven and earth. Yeah, probably call the arches done in time because I can't call them the Targaryens, right? Which is
Yeah.
citation twos. Which is last time we spec'd them, they were like at 107 watt, and we have a distortion analyzer, and they're pushing distortion levels that are like 0.03% distortion, which is stupidly low. 0.03 distortion at 20 watts, which normally you do it at 1 watt, so like really low. And we're partnered with you guys, and we're bringing a chorus speakers and a master reference pre, and I think we're bringing a Fiker turntable, right, guys?
Yeah, working on the
Fiker
Fiker,
there.
and then also got a contact on Doman tables.
And SWX's newest back is coming, and
Yes.
amazing power conditioning is going to be there, and enough Cardis cable to literally like lynch a person. That's a terrible suggestion, but I mean like miles of
Yeah.
that thing, miles of like clear cable,
Drawn and quartered by Cardis.
But and I spoke with Valacor about it today, and he was really pleased to hear that we're taking it seriously. Like, because I told him like we're doing pipe and drape.
Good. Yeah.
Pipe and drape
Yeah.
isn't a matter, and I'm like, no, like we have acoustic panels we're putting behind the pipe and drape. He's like, okay, then it'll actually make a difference. I didn't know you were taking it so seriously. Like,
Yes.
we're I think all of us collectively are trying very hard to put together a room that on one level for reviewers, a real goal.
Yeah.
But
Mm-hmm.
I hope that people, when they come in and see, they understand components individually represents something that is proprietorship and long-term consumption without being.
Yeah.
I never think that I have this, or like I'm not one who speaks with bravado, so I'm not going to tell you it's the best shit. That's not me. Like I don't. That's not how I drum. But like most of these products, with anything else in any other combination, you're very likely to have a really enjoyable, good experience.
I think so too.
I think that that's really quite like you could swap out the arches and put it in a black pearl. You'll have a small one because you'll have less power, but you're still going to have a deeply aging sound. And
Yeah.
depending on your room size or home size, it may be the right choice.
Exactly. And I think it's, with the level of products you have and the level of products through SW1X, et cetera, is that it is a house sound you can stick with, and something that we've kind of put together and been able to hear for ourselves that is enjoyable and is something we would want to show off, which I think is really cool.
It's like this difference would be like if you ever got his more modest single box solution, like you could start with like the single, the SWS for like your office and have a really bespoke office system, and then you can have your like the full tilt home system, but still stand
Yeah.
like both systems. There will be different resolution for sure, but there won't be, you know, they still feel like house sounds to you and feel native.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, was there one or two other questions I can answer really quickly for anybody else? I actually wanted to hear if people have questions. Love to see if I can
Yeah.
hotshot a question or two.
Yeah. Let's see. Anybody have questions? Go ahead and put them in chat. Let me look through our document and see if I have anything that we wanted to touch on. There's a big one that is a basically future projects, directions, where you want the brand to be, etc.
So the current biggest future project is building. Now we're building a pre, and then the next question will be, do we try to step even further beyond that? So the first, because that was the feedback I got, we're having VAC generously lending us one of their statement level grand reference pre's, and Kevin, who's the owner of VAC, was extraordinarily generous with his time and me, and I really was appreciative of that, and I said, I feel like I have a hat in hand and I'm asking a favor. He's like, don't feel that way. Grow into this. Can't do it all at the same time. But at this moment, I recognize that I need a pre that's tube based. And so we're building a Marantz 7 circuit pre and 7 circuit phono stage that's done on turrets. And
Wow.
the goal will be input transformers. And so it's going to be tubes on the top side with a cage that goes over the whole thing. To the top side, capacitors on the top side, transformers on the top side, put transformers on the top side, and only our wiring on the bottom side.
Yeah.
You'll get the really clean wiring, and it's going to be all on turret boards. And so you'll get this, like, if you could buy a Marantz 7 again, it'll actually be cleaner wiring than the Marantz 7 ever had. But, that's some sort of wiring. In addition, if general radio, Genrad, if you ever bought like a Variac, I have a 5-inch Genrad knob, and I'm going to take it to a machinist that I have and see if they can cut it out of Delrin, and then put my tube logo into the front of it. And I'm hoping to turn that into my volume pot.
That'll be fun.
So that you can just gently, So the goal will be to do the Marantz 7 executed correctly. After that, we have a circuit from an Ampex. Ampex was a more prosumer version of the Marantz stuff. Was done for like the prosumer level was done through Ampex, and and it's a push-pull circuit, and which is sort of similar to what Kevin does with his back pre's. Very low distortion typically. And it requires output transformers that are custom wound. I have these output transformers already, and I have the circuit. Its implementation will take longer.
Yeah.
They're how smooth, because what the first step is, like, we are in the process of going through right now, like the metal work to come out of the metal shop, because like it's really fast. Hopefully, God willing, by the 4th, our metal work comes out of the metal shop. We have 4 chassis that were cut. We have 1 day to go over fitment to confirm fitment is correct. Then it goes into powder coating. Powder coating, if I beg and bring filling, might take 2 days, might take 3, but hopefully only takes 2 days. I believe so the 27th is our pickup date. So the 4th, assume that maybe I get it back. So let's see, the 4th, just backing into this differently. The 4th is, so if I get it on the 2nd or the 3rd, and I get pouting back on the 8th, it gives me a solid 2 weeks to build 4 amps. before Axpona.
So
Beautiful.
you're going to be a little bit busy.
We're fucked.
Yeah.
It's not impossible. It's just, I mean,
Yeah.
it's doable. It is easy to do it. It just will require. Einstein is quoted as saying, "Luck favors the prepared mind." Are prepared.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean, but we're hopeful.
Yeah.
We can wait another 2 weeks if we FedEx the shit out there. But if you figure, we want an air and a spare, and so you figure 400 pounds worth of Pelican cases. Effectively, Irvine to Chicago is going to cost me something on the order $5 per Pelican case to get it 30 days, 3 to 4 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I have to shoot past
Wow.
the 27th, it will begin to nickel price wise.
Yeah.
Well, we're right at that hour and a half mark, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you so much, Justin, for joining us. It's been a pleasure listening
Yeah.
to you
Thanks,
talk.
Justin.
I've always enjoyed listening to you at Can Jam. It's nice to be able to have this intimate setting to talk, and I'm sure we'll talk more at Axpona and anyone who comes by the booth.
Yes, I hope you guys all learned something. I mean, it was a real pleasure to share, honestly.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
thank you
love
so much.
listening. It's amazing.
Thanks
Well,
so much.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will be back next
Thank
week.
you.
We still don't know if we have a special guest or who it's going to be yet, but we will have a podcast next week. So we will see you guys then.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.